All right. And okay. All right. So welcome everybody to the Salesforce Admin Training 201. This is our session, which actually started 2 weeks back, but then we kind of have a lot of new students actually join. So I thought maybe we can combine the session. So this is our a brand new session. Actually, if you already have in the previous session, I hope this will help you to regain anything that you might have missed and able to get even better clarity on different items that we will be discussing. So and welcome to the new team members who just joined for the very first time. So my name is Horam Ali. I've been in Salesforce for a couple of years. I've been in technology domain for about 15 plus years. I work in different levels. I'm a program manager for executing Salesforce projects for government and private sector as well. I have done a lot of implementations, very complex ones as well, including one that we recently started last year with the government sector, which is Veteran Affairs. It's a 5 year, multi-million dollar project where all the departments in Veteran Affairs will be um, going through a transition and adopting Salesforce. So just to give you a perspective of how big is that, is is Veteran Affairs is after DoD, which is Department of Defense from federal department. After that, after DoD, Veteran Affairs is number two in terms of number of employees and the budget they have. So they have about 350 thousand dollars, 350,000. Um, somebody has a speaker on. I can hear my voice back. Can you guys go on a mute?
I think it's mine.
Yeah. Okay, I just muted from my side. Okay, so going back to that is they have about 350,000 employees, and that's in terms of number of employees after DoD. So and again, actually working on multiple other government agencies across the board. So I live in Virginia, which is very close to DC, and honestly speaking, pretty much across the board, 80% or more government sector are going through the digital transformation, and one of the very core item is a CRM. So just to coming into Salesforce, so Salesforce is one of the CRM system, and CRM stands for Customer Relationship Database. So you can understand that a lot of government department directly deal with their citizens. Either it's a Homeland Security, IRS, social services, and you name it. So all of them actually require some sort of CRM system that they can communicate directly with their citizens. In for other non-commercial customers, you can call them customers, but for government, obviously, we all are their citizens. So they also need to have data for the citizens. For example, if you call a health services, government health services for health benefits, for example, Medicare or Medicaid, they need to have all the information like your name, your social security, do you have the enough points, where do you live, your address, and all of the necessary information that needs to go along with that. So how do they maintain all that information? In the past, there could be as simple as Excel sheets that can move around with different agents, and they can combine them, have the data in a very raw format as an Excel or Access sheets. Moving forward, now we have a cloud-based CRM system, Salesforce, where they can everything in there, a very highly secure and an automated platform where they can have all the information. Also, if we talk about non-government or commercial clients, you can have all the businesses, they work with their customer and they need a platform where they can combine all their information and retrieve them whenever needed. For example, if you go and buy a car from a Honda showroom, first thing they check if you already have bought something in the past. So they ask your name, your phone number or address, and try to see if you already exist in their database. Where are they checking against? They are checking against some sort of CRM. And from today onwards, obviously, our CRM is Salesforce CRM. Again, there could be other types of CRMs also. We have a competitor called Dynamics, which is from Microsoft. There's another smaller level CRMs like Sugar CRM, Zoho CRM. And on another scale, we also have SAP CRM. So there are multiple CRMs, but Salesforce is the leading CRM at the moment. We have about 18 to 20% of the world um, market capture at the moment, especially this number is higher in Northern America and advanced countries like England, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, and again, so on and so forth. So, so all this information is captured in a platform called CRM. And again, now I'm gonna replace CRM with Salesforce for our purposes. So Salesforce actually capture all this information in there. And for example, if you go back and say, I want to buy a new car and you already purchased something from Honda before, they may ask your name or phone number and the record will pull up. Now in that record, it will have all the information that you have provided previously. For example, when did you purchase a previous car? What kind of car? How did you make the payments? Is that car paid off, or you still have more cars from the same agency, or maybe you have purchased a car from another dealer under Honda. So all of that information is there. So basically a CRM is nothing but a database which is very well organized and in a way that you can able to retrieve the information very efficiently and also work across different platforms. It will provide a 360 view of a customer. And when I say 360 view, you can basically able to understand when we move forward and we understand more and more about what a customer really means. So just to give you a very high level understanding or few aspects, what can be covered in 360 view. So for example, you have a customer. First of all, you need the personal information. So you need their name, phone number, email address, and other information, date of birth, and so on and so forth. So that's all related to a personal information. Then you can have information about the product or services they are buying. So for example, if they're buying a product, what kind of product, what is the price, if it is a service, what kind of service, how long, how much, what does it engage. Now, if you go into further detail, then if you are buying a product, are you buying more services along with the product? So, for example, if you buy a new car, are you also buying a service package? Are you buying a oil change package? Are you buying any other related service package with that? And for how long, how much, if it is a 1 year service contract, if it is a 3 year service contract. Within the service contract, you can have different type of contracts. So it could be as simple as silver, gold, platinum. So each of them is a different. Then moving forward, if you are a company who is selling cars in future, you need to market your product. So maybe all of these customers that you have in a database, you need to market them. Again, that comes into something called marketing cloud. So Salesforce is comprised of different clouds, and I will go into and show you how do they look like. But the first part that I discussed, when you're selling something, all of that come under a sales cloud. Then you offer some services, which means that now if you come back for a oil change services or a part services, or any other services that you purchase, all of that information can be contained under Service Cloud. And when the internal teams for the same company is doing marketing, then they use the same data and they use their email address. Again, they obviously, as a courtesy, they need to make sure that the client is aware of it and they have opt in for the marketing services. So if they've opt in, they can use their email addresses or home addresses for running the marketing campaigns. Again, they have Salesforce and another cloud called Marketing Cloud. So understand. So now you are seeing that now you start from sales, then you go to service. Now you have a marketing. Then you have customers who has very huge, very powerful e-commerce platforms like Amazon, like Walmart, like other e-commerce platforms. So nowadays, Salesforce is also, and again, you need all the customer information, what they're buying, all that information. Again, you need a CRM system. So Salesforce has another cloud called e-commerce cloud as well. So you can even have a full e-commerce platform build up on Salesforce, and all the data will be available in Salesforce utilizing all the other clouds. And moving forward, there are many other clouds which are available. They have Pardot, which is more like a marketing type of a cloud. Then they have specialized cloud where you can actually create your own apps within Salesforce. It's almost like a new language or a platform like Android or iOS. So how you can create new apps in Android and iOS. Salesforce is not just a platform to use. It is much, much bigger than that. It is actually a full-blown ecosystem. And what it means is there are companies and there are vendors who actually create different apps, brand new apps, and they sell on the Salesforce App Exchange, which will be purchased by the different companies who are utilizing Salesforce in order to make their work easy. So again, we will talk more about it, what is apps and what does it mean by apps in Salesforce. But for now, just think about it as a very huge ecosystem. So coming back in terms of their certification, same thing, they have many certifications. I kind of lost the count of it, but I believe there are more than 25 different type of certifications that one can acquire. They have one of the very highest certifications, which is really, really good. So if you have more certifications, you can able to work on different clouds simultaneously. Again, as I said, each client may have multiple clouds that they are working on, and it will be nice to have as many certifications as you can. In Salesforce ecosystem, certification and certification is one way to show your expertise, so that if you have more the certification, people will understand that you are coming with more and more knowledge. And obviously when you work on more projects, then you actually gain more and more experience along with your theoretical knowledge. All right. So coming back to Salesforce, as I explained, they have multiple clouds, and all these clouds are classified as different apps in Salesforce. So we will see how they look like. But at the end of the day, the Salesforce, just from the theoretical understanding and understanding of what it is, it's basically a very giant database. So anybody who has worked on database before, either it's an Excel, Access, SAP, Oracle, that would be much, much easier for you to understand, and it will be just a extension of the knowledge that you already have. Is there a question?
Um, yeah, hold on.
Mhm.
I cannot see your screen.
Is anybody else can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, and who cannot see my screen? Is it Rabia?
No, I can see.
No, Shumaila.
Oh, Shumaila. Okay. I think there's something wrong with your system. Previously, you were not able to hear me. Now you cannot able to see my screen. So I'm not sure. Maybe just sign up on your phone, and most of this will be you already have.
Yeah, I did. I did.
You did. Even on phone, you cannot see the screen. You need to move different screens. There are multiple screens on the phone, so there are different views. So if you scroll the views, you should be able to see it. There are different views. So you can have maybe one of the views, which is just maybe some other view. I don't remember the name, but within the Zoom screen, if you can scroll the screens forward or backwards, I'm sure there will be one screen where you can see my shared screen.
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't see anything here. Just interface,
But
nothing
did you see
more.
like a Salesforce Admin 201 training slides?
Yeah, I just no,
And you are
no,
connected through phone or you're connected through laptop,
no desktop.
a
I'm
desktop?
connected with desktop. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you should be able to see it. I'm not too sure.
I think try
Can I
restart.
share? Can I share? Yeah. Restart.
Can you try
Okay.
connecting via your phone? Just
Okay. Let me do it.
by your phone, and then maybe after the session, I'll have a separate call with you and make sure you can able to see it. For now, if you can just join through your phone, it should be fine.
Okay.
So let's get back to the point.
So,
So, yeah,
one question.
sure.
You mentioned like Salesforce, like especially these government sectors are getting digitalized.
Yep.
And I think you mentioned like there are a couple of more competitive, CRM tools.
Correct.
So, it's a kind of, it's a open-ended question: how much more digitalization needed in government sector, especially, and what they are preferred to, um, in terms of, you said like there are some more available in market.
Correct. So I can answer from the government sector perspective, and then I can share some some non-government. So basically, from the government perspective, at least personally, I know it is being utilized across the board. And in terms of share market, Salesforce has the highest share market. The next competitor is about 10 points below. So they are less than 10%, and then Salesforce is almost 18 to 20%. And then the one of the reasons why Salesforce is being preferred is because they were in the cloud business very first. So they start with the cloud business. However, the Microsoft, which Dynamics, which is number 2 in a row, it was basically a local host-based solution for a very long time, and then they transition into cloud.
Hello, Coron.
Yes.
I have just one screen. Have you changed your screen or what? Since you started, I have only one screen.
Yeah, I have just same screen. I haven't changed anything.
Just the Salesforce admin
Yep.
201 training.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Because I was using my computer and that was on it. I was talking, but you were not hearing me. So I just switched to my phone to
Yep.
make sure
Yeah. No, you are good.
left behind. Okay, thank you.
No worries. So basically, yes. So and again, they have been utilized across the board, and they were in the cloud from very start off. So right now, what I know of, pretty much, I personally worked on at least 3 different agencies, and then we have a direct connection to a lot of government agencies, and they're all using Salesforce very aggressively. There might be some agencies which are using competitors. Again, there's no single platform. Again, there will always be choices. Like, for example, if you have AWS, there are also GCP, there are also Microsoft Cloud. But again, you go for the best. So the best right now is Salesforce. Again, in the cloud business, AWS is the best. Again, there are other competitors, but they're far behind. Same story with Salesforce. In terms of how much transformation is done, to be very honest, we are not even 5-10% of the transformation. This is just started. Think about it. I actually don't want to name the agency because of the proprietary information, but one of the agencies that I work for government, uh, last year we convert them into Salesforce, and previous to that they were using Excel sheets. And I'm not talking about a private sector, I'm talking about a government sector. And there are a lot of other government sectors and agencies that might be still using that. So we just starting this conversion a couple of years back. Some of the conversions and the project length is anywhere from 5 years to 10 years. So if you go back, it's a public information. If you go back for Veteran Affairs, their initial project timeline is 5 years. We just started last year. And the way they're going is it will be extended to another couple of years. And we are only talking about one of the hundreds of government agencies, just about government.
Okay.
If you go into the private sector, then there is unlimited number of conversions that needs to happen or transformation needs to happen. So we are just on a very tip of an iceberg where this thing will, there's no stoppage. And again, once you deploy on a particular organization, then you need to upgrade, you need to maintain it, you need a lot of other services like anything else. It's not something that you can buy, build one time and you are done for next 10 years. Actually, every year there are three new releases comes out for Salesforce called summer release, winter release, and fall and spring release. And every release has new features, new functionalities. And then when companies able to see the new functionalities, they want to adopt that. So the work is continuous. First for implementation, second is for maintenance. So
So
again,
much like
and again I will have separate sessions for the importance of what it is, but right now we'll just want to concentrate on the functionality. So we will have some separate sessions on the usability, jobs, and everything else. I don't want to use this time getting into more of the divergent from the main topics. All right, so let's get back into our understanding of what really we want to see in a Salesforce. So first of all, as I just mentioned, that Salesforce is nothing but a database. And what is the database is basically a composition of different fields. So for example, if I want to have like a field 1 here, field 2 here, and so on and so forth. And these fields, I can take some examples from you guys. And then within these fields, you will start input the data. So field 1 could be something as simple as name. Field 2 could be something as simple as age, could be date of birth, could be your social security number, and so on and so forth, right? Now, so this is what I filled on my first row is basically nothing, but they are called fields, and I leave a couple of them here so you can still remember. And I just gave you an example of what fields look like. So field could be a name, a age, a date of birth, a social security number, and so on and so forth. Now, the rest of the thing that we will be providing as an input, we call that as a data. So everything else here is nothing but a data. So if I just want to say one big word here, this is all data. So let me make it bigger. So this is a very important thing that you need to understand first is what are we dealing with? So we have fields right here, and everything else here is a data. And then this actual tab that I have in Salesforce terminology, we called it object. And for example, if you have multiple object, it could be object 1, object 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what we just learned is basically there's something called a combination of different fields, and we combine multiple fields in one tab, and the tab in Salesforce terminology we call it object. Okay, so one object. And what is object? So object could be something as simple as contact information. Okay, object 2, and you can have another object, for example, like account information, right? In account information, what kind of fields can you expect? You can have account name, for example, account name. So and then you have account address, wherever that account is, their phone number, and their number of employees, their annual revenue, and so on and so forth, right? And again, this line is, again, we call this different fields. So these are different fields. And now when you start input the information, that information is nothing but the actual data or records, right? So make sure that you understand these terminology, because that is very important. If you don't understand the terminology, then it's going to be a little complicated. So here we have first row always is the field, and then rest of all the rows, they will be your data, or you can call it records. Okay, so these are all will be your records. Okay, and okay, so these are all your records. And how does the record look like? So record can be like, for example, first record is Bank of America, their address, their phone number, their number of employees, whatever. The second raw record or a data um, can be anything like a Sydney Bank, or um, any other institution, or for example, you can have ABC, and then you go, so on and so forth. So you can have all this information plugging in terms of different data or different records. So these are nothing but a record. So this is record 1. Okay, this is record 2, and then so on and so forth. And then basically all these records will be continuously increasing as you have more and more customers. So these are nothing but different information for the customer, and they use in different fashions. So not necessarily each of them is a customer, but that we will learn in later lectures. But they are different records. In contact information, again, if we want to go back and basically start doing the data, we can have information like name, age, and then date of birth, and then you can have another record, and then you can have another record, and so on and so forth. So you can start filling out everything. So you have a complete data. So you have different records adding, and this is called object. Again, I named the object as contact information, account information. And now if you combine, let's say if you have these two objects, if you want to combine and close, you have something called name of the workbook, right? In Excel, I am sure everybody is understood that book 1. In Salesforce, we call this thing as app. So if I save as instead of book 1, I want to call this Salesforce app 1, right? So that becomes like a one app in Salesforce. You can also think of Salesforce app 1 as another cloud, right? So now you understand that there is something called a cloud. Within the cloud, there's something called object. Within the object, you have multiple fields. And that's how Salesforce works. Let's quickly jump into actual Salesforce. How does it look like? And then we can take it from there. Okay, so let's go back to just a basic view of Salesforce. Okay, now, by the way, some of you guys have just started today. So you can create a free account in Salesforce. I will provide you the details. All you need is a is a email account, and I will provide the link. You can just sign off the email, create. You can go to one link that I will be providing. Let me open up quickly just to walk you through that. For especially for folks who just joined. Okay, so very straightforward. And again, I will provide you this link, so it will be very easy. So you can go to this link called developer.salesforce.com. And this is something over here. You can basically sign up for a new account, and you provide your name, last name, email address, company, doesn't matter. You can provide your company. You can just say ABC, doesn't matter. You can pick up any role that you want, administrator, IT manager, anything. It doesn't really matter. It's just for their record purposes. Postal code, again, if you want to give the right one or whatever you want to give, that's fine. So email and username, just try to use the same one. So if you have a unique email, that might be a good idea to use as a username. Copy and sign me up. Once you sign it up, you will receive an email on your email that you have provided, which will say you can confirm. Once you confirm, you need to go back to another link over here called login.salesforce.com. So if you go to this page, this page will um, one second. So once you go to the login page, so there was one was a sign up, the other one was for login page. So once you go to the login, you can see I have a lot of different ones because I've saved, but what you will see something like this. So you can provide your username. Remember, they have a separate column for email and username. And just for simplicity, make sure you use the same email address as your username. Going forward, that username will always be used, and their username should be in shape of email address anyways. So you can put your email username, the password that you just created using the email that they provided you, and you can log in into the Salesforce. And once you log in, you can see something like this. Now I'm going to move on. And again, as I said, this two links I will provide you, but again, it's very straightforward. The first one is developer.salesforce.com. And the same one, you can just go back and then basically log in, or it's a login.salesforce.com, but it's just the same link where you can go ahead and create that. And all you need is a email address, Google email, Yahoo email, all of them works just fine. All right. And again, that account is for lifetime. It's called a dev account. You can maintain that account as long as you're using it. I believe it's as long as you sign up for once in a 6 months, it will still be active for you. Any questions before I move on? All right, perfect. So once you log in into the Salesforce, uh, you will have your Salesforce instance, and we call that different terminology. So you will start hearing some Salesforce related terminology. So we call different views as instance, and and the people who are already in the tech world, they already familiar with a lot of these terminologies. So if we go into instance, this is something that you can see if you log in into the Sales Cloud. Now let me go ahead and explain you what Salesforce is basically what Salesforce is comprised of, so that you can understand how to maneuver. Just a quick introduction of the interface. So the first thing first you can do is just go to this rubric, this 9-dot rubric, and you will see something called App Launcher. What is App Launcher? So if you just recall what I go through this whole Excel sheet, and we call something, the name of the sheet was Salesforce App 1. So if we come back, all of these are actually an independent, just correlate that to Excel sheets, different Excel sheets, meaning they're different clouds, different apps, however you want to understand. So service, you can call it a separate service cloud. That is a main Salesforce terminology. You can also assume or think or correlate that as a complete Excel sheet, which can have multiple objects, and these objects contain multiple fields. So I will show you one by one, but first thing first, make sure you understand what is app. So app is you can relate that with multiple clouds or multiple database sheets. Within that, if you go slightly down, you can also see a lot of other apps which are available. So some of these apps which you use more frequently will be available here. And then all of these are also apps. This is all items. So for example, account, um, are different. So different objects and different other items are available. But on the very top, you can see all the apps. So for example, accounts is basically an object. So it's listed there in case if you directly want to access the account object, case, context, homepage, pharma products. So all of these are different. Not necessarily they are all objects or things, but these are different contents. For example, here you can see something called email templates. Again, this is not an object, this is not a field. These are different templates which are available. There is something called quick text. This is just a functionality. There are reports, so you can access different reports. There's a calendar functionality. So there are a lot of other things which are available, and we can review it. But for now, just for understanding, you can see this is app. So all of these on the very top are apps. All items, meaning these are mix of multiple items. There could be an app, there could be object, there could be other things. Also on the very top, if you see something called Visit App Exchange, that was which I referred in the very beginning, that if you click on that, it will take you to a marketplace or an app exchange, which is very similar to iOS App Exchange or Android App Exchange, where anybody, an individual or a company can create an app, an automated app, and you can either, they can provide it either for free or they charge you money. So if you come over here, you can see that this app is free. This app and some of the apps are free for a small number of data, but when you actually start using it for a larger data set, then they require subscription modeling or one-time buy. It works exactly the same way that your regular apps work. So some of the apps, you know that they are free and you can use it, and some of the apps they charge money. They could be one-time fee, they could be monthly subscription, they could be based on number of records, different ways. But it is a huge area. So if you go into the apps and if you want to see it, it's a whole different world. So not only in Salesforce you have people who are implementing, but there are companies, there are individuals who are building different apps, and they can sell their apps and a lot of people use it. And then eventually, once we understand Salesforce a little bit better, then you can understand why do you need apps, and why they are so popular, and why a lot of people actually use them. And again, it's the same use case as you have in your iOS or Android devices. All right. So just a quick introduction for the apps. Once we select an app, so I have a sales, let me select another app just to show you. So if I select the service, so service app loads up. Now within the app, the first thing it will tell you the name of the app. In this case is service. Now you will see something called home, chatter, accounts, contacts, cases, reports, dashboards, and then there are some other items. So within that, I just discussed, we have something called objects. Excuse me. So account is an object which is already created in Salesforce as a default. And contact is also another object which is already created. Cases is already created. So in Salesforce, there are two things that you will be keep hearing. So what we have learned so far is apps. The subdivision of apps is called objects. And right now, so apps, as an example, we have sales, we have service, and many more. In terms of objects, I was just started showing you. So for example, account is an object. You have contact. You have many accounts, and you can create one as well. And within the objects we just discussed, there's something called fields, and fields could be as simple as name, age, um, social security, and so on and so forth. So after the first description, so this is the highest apps. Under apps, you can have many objects, and under objects, you can have many fields, right? So this is all go in a incremental order. So one app can have many objects, each object can have many fields, all right? That's how it goes. Within that, there's one terminology that you will be keep hearing is called standard and custom. Okay, so what is standard and what is custom? Basically, anything that comes with Salesforce, and they won't allow you to anyways. Okay, so anything which okay, so many of these items are two types. One is standard, one is custom. So what is the difference between standard or custom? So something that comes as a default with Salesforce is called standard. So for example, if you purchase a car, you have standard features and functionality. So for example, the tires comes as a standard tire, the navigation, some of them come with a default navigation, some of them comes with a audio system, some of them comes with a backup camera and all those. So anything that comes as a standard in a product is we kind of call it standard. And same thing in Salesforce. All of these different. So when we say what is a standard in Salesforce, so anything which is like different objects that comes up, they can be different fields and they can be different apps. And then again, there are many examples. So a lot of these things can come as a default. So for example, I showed you multiple apps which are already created by Salesforce, and examples are Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, so on and so forth. In terms of objects, you can have contacts, you can have accounts, you can have leads. So all of these objects are already created for you, and they are recommended that they will be used as a priority. However, when you are actually building a system, you may need a lot of new apps, or you may need a lot of new fields or objects, and that is something called custom, whatever that is. So you can have as an admin, you can again create anything from apps to objects to fields and so on and so forth, like reports and everything. And there are a lot of things that you can create, and all of those will be terminized as custom. So you can say custom app, custom object, custom fields. And if I say standard, standard app, standard field, standard object. So going forward, these words will be keep coming back, and you need to really quickly understand what does it mean, because there will be a lot of properties that will govern if it is a standard or if it is a custom. So for example, if I say I'm creating a custom object versus a standard object, and for example, maybe I can delete the custom object, but maybe I cannot delete the standard object. Same thing goes with the standard fields. Maybe some of the standard fields I cannot delete, but if it is a custom field that I created, I can always go back and delete it as a Salesforce admin, or if I have the rights to delete it. So everybody clear about the two main types, and apps, fields, objects and fields, what they kind of represent on a very high level? Any questions? Let me take a break and see if you guys have any questions. Any questions? Is everybody clear? Come on, guys. Feel free to ask anything. There's always, every question is a good question. It always helps other people, especially the ones who join for the very first time. I know it might be a little bit overwhelming, but I would be more than willing to, you know, revise anything if it can help.
So basically, I'm looking for the apps you showed me on the website. So before we have to get it, we have to make an account first, right?
In order to log into the Salesforce, correct.
Yeah. So you have to, when you make an account, then we'll be able to see this, right?
Absolutely. So once you make an account, you will see the page where you can log in. Once you log in, you can see the whole thing. And if you can click on this, once you log in into the Salesforce, then you can see the same screen. You will see this 9-digit rubric. And if you click on that, you will able to see all these apps. You can select any app. Like for example, I can switch to Sales app, and then you can able to Sales app, and also all the different items it has. So some of the items are actually objects, and some of the items are other components, like dashboard is a component, report is a component, chat is a component. Again, you don't need to worry about the details. Right now, all we are focusing on, and if I go to any account and it has multiple fields. So what is field? If I click on any account and if I go to the details, you will see all the fields like account owner, account name, account parent account, account number, site, type, industry, and you go on and on and on. You can have many, many, many fields as much as you need. So these are the 3 different layers that we just talked about.
All right. Thank you very much.
Very good. Anybody else? Any question? Feel free to ask it. It's a very open session. There is no bad question. Every question is a good question. And it will really help me to understand if you guys are struggling with any concept, so I can reiterate and try to make more related to everybody so you can really understand it.
Yeah, Khurram, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so ladies first, go ahead.
Shumala.
Shumala, please go ahead.
Okay, yesterday I'm trying to create an object. I create an object, but it doesn't show up right here like tab.
Okay, no worries. I will show you
So
again. Okay, I'll show you again how you.
okay,
But conceptually, so far what we have discussed today, you are good with that.
yeah.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. The second person who was
Yes,
asking.
Khurram, that's Farhan.
Yes, Farhan.
Yeah, I wonder, like, the previous page you showed, like, there are different kind of objects and different some other different things. No, the page layout, the one you showed before that.
You mean over here?
Yeah, you know, you showed some objects and then you showed some report tabs and
Yep, yep,
those
yep.
things in a
Right
single
here.
line.
You mean okay? Got it. Let me go back. Yep, right here.
Right, exactly. So my question is, like, is there any way that we can set up some kind of theme that they can differentiate between these custom objects and these, like, reports and etc., the different colors or different way to display, so that one can differentiate between these objects and
Yeah, so you can actually customize this thing whatever you want. It will not even look like Salesforce at all, but you need to be very, very expert in that. Okay, so we don't want to get to that on a day one, but
Mhm.
yes, you can. It will. So just to give you an idea, that a lot of companies actually use Salesforce, but if you ask them, they will say no, we don't use Salesforce because it doesn't even look like Salesforce. It will be fully customized and it will be fully categorized as per the client requirements, and anything can be done. You can create whatever you want, and that's why there are two aspects in Salesforce. Okay, so one is called, so if I go further down, there's something, so there are uh, two main two main items that are basically engaged in Salesforce on a daily basis. Two main items in terms of development, right? So one is called, and again, it's a very good question. So I thought maybe I can continue with the answer. One is called configuration, and the other one is called development. Okay, so what does configuration mean? So configuration mean is whatever is already available, all the functionality which is available by Salesforce, you can just use and configure and you are good to go. So it's more like a cookie cutter solution, right? Like a ready solution. So solution is ready, all you are doing is just doing a couple of clicks and the functionality is ready, and I'll show you a lot of these moving forward. However, if you don't like it, for example, if you don't like it how the fields are created, if you don't like it how it is represented, if you don't like it how big is the size, or you want to show whatever you want, you can actually do a complete development in Salesforce, and they use something called Apex language. And obviously you need coding techniques and you need to know Apex language in order to create that. However, some minor customization or color combination, they can be done even using configuration. But as I said, I mean, if you want to go a whole brand new branding, a totally out of the box branding, absolutely you are 100% able to do that. All right.
okay.
Any other question? Very good. All right. If not, then I assume that everybody understands at least the high level idea. So time check, we are actually about to be an hour in our session in next 6 minutes. So after hour and a half, we can take a quick 10 minutes break. So let's continue. And then at any point in time, as I said, there's no rules. You can always ask any question. You can stop me and you can say, okay, I don't understand that. And I'll repeat as much as possible so that you can get it cleared. But my recommendation is, if you are not clear, even if you feel like this is a very basic question, or so there's no question is a bad, every question is a good question, because maybe if you find a courage to ask is, and a lot of other people might have the same question, they might get benefit from it. So I will encourage everybody, and I probably is the first one who can ask all the stupid questions. So I'm sure you guys are more smarter than me. So I always ask all kind of question, and that helps me to understand. I do not close a session if I'm taking from somebody else without anything answered from me, because you are spending your time, you're spending your money, and again, the time is precious. A Sunday you can have with your family or anywhere else and enjoying or relaxing, and you are in the class and you're paying money for that. So I want to make sure you can get the best out of it. All right. All right. So now we just discussed about these three things. So let's start and actually creating all these things rather than looking into that. So in that way, you can understand how does it look like. So what I'm going to do is, and there are different ways you can do that. So you can start with the object. You can create an object. Within the object, you can create fields, and you can assign that object to any app. Or we can actually start like a chronological order, and then we can create an app first, and then we can create an object, and within object we can create fields, so you can understand how the steps move forward. Also, I want to show you in the notes that you will be receiving, uh, you have an exercise that you need to perform for the next lecture, and within that I have created um, uh, uh, I have created an app. So that name of the app is called Star Pharma, and they have multiple objects. So this is one object, two object, three object, and then next page has two more. So there are 6 total objects. Each object has different fields, and then some of them have empty columns. So the ones which has an empty columns, they need some sort of relationship. So we will hopefully able to get to the relationship, and the relationship are explained in the following slide number 27. So don't feel like we have missed something. Is basically these needs a relationship, and I leave it empty so that we can understand first, and then when you are ready to create them, there is a separate page where you can able to input the relationship. So we'll learn about the relationship first today's session, and then once you're ready to go, you can able to create all of these 6 objects, all the fields, and also you can create a brand new app called Star Pharma. So let's start with creating the app first. And again, as I said, in future you will might be coming back and forth and saying, oh, if I created the object first, what will happen? Or if I created the app first? So it doesn't matter. You can create the object first, and then you can have app, or if you create the app first, you can have object. You will learn about everything moving forward, and there's no sequence that you need to follow. Could be any sequence. So let's start with the app first, right? So let's say if I want to create a brand new app, where should I go? So let me close the extra windows. So this is the view that you see first. Let's say you are on a Sales Cloud, and again, make sure you can keep playing around with that so you know where you're standing right now. So right now I'm standing on Sales Cloud, okay? If I want to change that to something else, a standard, another standard cloud, I can click on Sales and I can go to the Sales Cloud. So this is how Sales Cloud look like. The only difference is the different type of fields. So you can see leads here, you can see files, accounts, contacts, and some of the fields, some of the objects, some of the objects may occur in multiple clouds. So it's not necessary that if you're creating an object, for example, account. So if you see account is in sales, and if I go back to service, account is also here. So again, as I said, if you create an object, that's a single entity, and that entity can be used in multiple clouds, or in this case, in multiple apps. So one app, if object is available in that app, that object can be available in the other app as well. However, whatever records you are creating, so for example, if you have for example, right now, if you have whatever, like 12 items in accounts, and right now I'm standing in service. If I go to sales, if I go to account, same 12 accounts will be available across the board. So object is object, you can understand. So object is just a one piece of tab that you have, and whatever information is in there is in there. It's up to you, where do you want to show that information. So all of these things are separate, but they are put together under one roof called app. But different roofs can have the apps shared. But if you add a data in any of these objects, that will be added in all the other all the other apps.
So, Khurram, you're saying like data also shared to other different apps, or they're gonna be different?
So this is the same. So data is not shared. Okay. So understand that this is the same app. You can have different applications and you can show that object into different applications, but the object is one. You are not creating multiple objects. For example, and I can show you, don't worry about it. I'll show you, you will understand what I'm saying. But just on a high level, think about it. You created one object, name, for example, test object. And that object has 10 records. You want to show that object into sales and service, both of them, because you need that information available when you are in Sales Cloud or if you are in Service Cloud. So both of the clouds have that object, but that object is a single object. You are just sharing, you are just opening up that, okay, I can also see it and you can also see it. That's all. But it's the same object. You're not replicating the object. You are not cloning the object. The object is one, but you can share that object to multiple applications or clouds like sales or service. Does it make sense?
Well, just the structure, not the data, right? Just the skeleton.
No, no,
But
not the skeleton. Everything. It's just a one object. You can just call it from different locations.
but the thing is that we saw all these records in both the the sales app as well as the service app, right?
Yep.
So basically, when you share an object across an app, you also are sharing all the records with it, right?
When I say sharing the object, it means that yes, you can able to access those objects and add those data. So they are shared. That's true in that sense. But what it means is basically the same set of records will be shared across the different apps that you are sharing, if that makes more sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Is everybody else got it? Okay, so let me rephrase. I think the way I rephrased it previously might be confusing. So that is true. The data is shared. But what it means is the same data is shared. It's not like a different data set. It's the same data set, but you are saying that, okay, who wants to see it, for example, right? So let's say there are 10 people and you want to share only with the person one. So person one can see a particular object and they can see the data. Now you can say, okay, how about opening up to everybody? So now everybody can able to see the data, and it's the same object. If you add any more records into their object, everybody can see it. That's all. All right. And it will make more sense once we actually create it. So let's go ahead and create it. As I said, first thing first, if you get confused, you can always go back to the rubric, just select any cloud. So normally we can start with the Sales Cloud. So you select the Sales Cloud. Now we need to create an app. So we can start with the app. So there are different levels, if you can see here. So one is where you can have your information. And I'm sorry, let me just show you one more item before I create an app. So there are two different views that you can able to see in Salesforce. Again, just recall what I just showed you. There's a standard and custom. So there's also two views which are available, which is called classic and lightning. So I can add something else. There are two different views in Salesforce. And I'll explain a little bit more what those views mean. So when the Salesforce first started, I'm sorry, when the Salesforce first started, the view that they call now is called classic, which is more like a classic car or something from the past. And then right now, the latest and greatest view that they're using is called lightning view or lightning interface. Okay. Because there are a lot of organizations who are still using classic, so currently you can able to see both of them. You can see classic, you can convert to classic, or you can switch to lightning. Not convert, but switch is a better word. So right now this is actually a lightning view. If I want to convert to classic view, there's a button under your name. So this is your information, like for example, my first name, last name, and then basically there are different usernames, and then there's a display mode that's something else. But there's something called switch to Salesforce Classic. So if I click on that, it will take me to the older view, and you can see that now the view looks entirely different. Here you can access the objects from a drop down. If you want to switch to a setup, this button is here. If you want to go to different apps, there's a different way how to do that. I'm sorry. And then, so these are different apps that you can look into. These are different objects, but it looks entirely different. For example, if I go to sales, remember how we were going into sales previously? Although the content is same, like accounts, contact, opportunities, forecast, but it look and feel is entirely different. So again, in some cases, there are companies or agencies who are using still a classic version, and there is one, there are a lot of projects currently ongoing, hopefully whenever you start working in this field, and they are related to lightning conversion. So some of the items automatically converted. But for example, if you have done a lot of customization to the code, you have used a lot of Apex code in order to change the look and feel and functionalities, then you need to convert all of them into Lightning first. So then you can switch the whole org into Lightning ready. And that are different projects that are going through. In our case, because we are not creating anything in custom in classic anyway, so right away you can just convert them and you can see in both views. So I just convert back into Lightning. So that is something, just a basic stuff I just want to show. What is the difference between that? And again, it's a different layer that they have. Eventually, I believe it's a next year or following year, they will remove the classic view entirely. Again, they are just waiting for everybody to convert into Lightning. We're gonna work everything in Lightning because most of the organizations are now either converted or they already start with the Lightning. Lightning is already in practice for a couple of years now. Most of the functionalities are available. Most of the organizations are moved. But in some cases, if the if the organization is old and they haven't converted it, I hope they're already in a process of conversion. All right. Having said that, let's get back to another view. So there is this this setup button. If you click on that, there's something called setup. If you click on that, usually it will open a separate tab here, and that's where we can start looking a lot of different items. So this is basically where, so for example, if you're looking at the very first time, I would recommend that you can kind of browse around and get yourself familiar. So for example, if I go under administration, you can see something called users. So if I click on a users, there are different items like permission sets, profiles, queues, roles, user management, and users, right? If I click on users, it will actually show me what are the different users available in the organization. So right now, these are the different users. And as an admin, for example, if you're working as an admin, or even if you're just doing your projects, you can have two Salesforce users as a default. One is over here, which is the one that I'm using, and it's the profile is system admin. And then you can actually create one more user. So I created a user called test user, and I can, the reason why they provide you, so it's basically, you can think about it as two separate licenses. So, and the rest of them, like chatter expert, integration user, security user, these are different types of integration user, which we will talk about separately, but they are not a user as somebody who can log in. But right now, if for example, it's me and this could be another person, so he can have their own user, they can log in as a separate user. They can have a separate user account, everything separate. So we have two Salesforce licenses in this dev version. And the way we will be using this is, in future, once we create a lot of different functionalities, we can also log in as the other user and able to test functionalities, and we can log in back as an admin and then we can create functionality. So so one quick concept also I want to add at this point, because we are on users. So when we say users, what does it mean? So users mean the people who have direct access to Salesforce, okay? So that's what we call users. So for example, if you're working on Bank of America, and let's say in your branch or local office, you have 15 people. Everybody needs to log in into the Salesforce instance and add account or work on a report, whatever. So in that particular branch, you have 15 users, right? Now, if I am the Bank of America customer and I go to the website and I create an account or come to the bank and I am basically their customer. So the users and customer is a different terminology. Users are the people who actually use Salesforce system. They have a license. Each license can cost anywhere from $70 to $300 a month. So if you have 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, each person is consuming a paid license. And as I said, the cost could be $50 a month to $300 a month based on what kind of license or a package that you are using. So right now, you can imagine the free version, they are giving you 2 licenses. And the way you will use these 2 licenses is one that you already created. It will be your main admin license, and you behave like an admin. And the other one, you can behave like a user. And then when you create different objects and apps and fields, you can log in as a user and see what user can see, because you can hide things from user as an admin. You can show things to the user. You can show few things to the user, and that's what you will be testing in future, that if you are hiding something from user. So for example, in your bank, you have sales team and you have marketing team, and you have app called sales app and you have app called marketing app. So the 5 users who belongs to sales app, they only should able to access sales app, and they should not able to even see the marketing app. And the marketing people can only see the marketing app, and they should not even able to see the app or the fields or the object from the sales app. So as an admin, you can able to provide access for sales people to sales cloud and marketing people to marketing cloud. But you as an admin able to see both clouds, and you can able to see everything because you're an admin, and that all governs by profile. So profile is something like, okay, what kind of access you want to give to somebody. For example, if you have worked in a in a building, and if you have a key fob, right? So when you log it into your when you get into your office, you swap the key fob, and then you can able to get in. However, if you have within your office, there is a server room, and if you try to get into the server room with your key swap, it won't let you in. However, you were able to get in. But if a person who is working on servers and they have access, if they use their swap, they can able to get in into the server room. Same thing if a custodian comes up and there is a custodian closet, nobody else from the office have an access. Only custodian key can have an access, but the custodian key cannot have access to the server room or a file room or so on and so forth. So, so profile is a set of privileges that you can provide to somebody, that, okay, within the Salesforce, what you can see. And then that will cover anything from app, from object, and to fields. And again, don't worry about it. I'm not explaining this right now, just to giving you a high level idea. We have a separate topic on profiles, how to create, how to see it. So don't worry about it right now. All right, so here you can browse around different items like data, what does it mean? And again, we will go through all of them whenever we get to those points. I'm sorry. So get back to where we started. So what we were trying to do is, let me start noting it down so you don't, you can able to follow the track. I know we will be discussing a couple of things. So here, So we are creating the app, or you can call it cloud, or you can call it, application, whatever you want to call it. So first step is create an app. Okay, so we can create an app and we can call it Star Pharma. Okay, Star Pharma test. Okay, I don't know if I may have created Star Pharma already, so I'm going to call it Star Pharma test. And all you need to do for that is go to settings, which I click, and then go to apps. Okay, let's see how does that work. So let me close that again. Let me go back to setup. Let me click setup. You have this page load up as a second tab. And here you can put apps. So we have something called app manager. So we go ahead and click on that. So we can update over here. We can go to app manager, just to be precise, in case if you may get lost. Okay, so here is a list of all the apps which are available. Okay, so you have I've created some apps called Ali Test, and rest of them, and CarMax I created. And rest of them, sales, service, site, marketing, these are all created from before. So don't worry about it. Let's go ahead and click something called new lightning app. What is new connected app? We'll discuss separately, but right now just focus on new lightning app. Click on that. And here you can provide the name that you are looking for. So let's say if you want to create Star Pharma. I don't think so I have Star Pharma, so but I can still keep it Star Pharma test. Okay, so that's the name of the new app. Okay, this is nothing but the developer name. If you want to change it, go ahead and change it. Description is whatever description you want to give, so that somebody new login, they can understand what is this application for. So for us, it's just a test application. Here you can do your branding. So I can load up my company logo or whatever I want, and then you can choose a color, whatever color you're looking for, just a thing. So this is how it's going to look like. Star Farmer test application. This is a preview, and then again, here are some other functionalities. Use the app's image and color instead of org's custom theme. So even if you want to change the theme, you can do that. Right now, let's make it simple. Just move forward. Okay. So here, there's something called navigation style. Standard navigation is what I've been showing you all along, right? So whatever I've shown you, the way they are showing the objects, that's called standard. Console navigation, I'm not gonna go into the detail, but just to show you how it looks like, I have a slide over here. So this is more like a console view. Normally we use this view into Service Cloud, so that all the applications are in there. I have put some points here. So if you go to appendix, you can able to see the points. I also put a link from the Trailhead, so you can even able to open all the details of the console view. But for now, just for simplicity, so that we don't get off track, just think about it as a two different way how you can see your data, or you can see your objects and everything. Supported form factor. So do you need only for desktop or a phone? Obviously, in 99% cases, you need it for both desktop and phone. So you can able to access your Salesforce from your mobile device as well. All right. Then setup experience. Do you want a full set of options or just a service? We want to have everything. So we keep the default. App personalization, disable end user, disable template. So these are some additional options right now. We are not too much concerned about that. So let's move on to the next one. Add utility items. Well, what is utility items? I can show you first. It means that they have a lot of different supporting items. Like for example, you have you have notes. So for example, if you want to make a notes on any record that you're available, you want to make some calls. So if you are using like a service cloud and you have a CTI, which is a call integrated system, so you can directly make a call using Salesforce. So you can have that available in the footer. You can have notes available in the footer. You can have history tab. So these are a couple of things that you can add. For now, we can skip that. But in future, once we understand them better, then we can come back and add them as well. Here you have available items. So right now, you can see it is showing all the different available items. So account, if you remember, this is one of the object, right? There's an object so this is account is a standard object, which I do not create, already available. But Ali offers object I created. This is a custom object. This is custom object. And rest of them are basically all the different items which are available as a standard items. So basically right now, because we are starting a new app and I haven't created any objects, so I'm not just gonna skip that. So right now it will not have any object in there. So everything empty. And let's move on to the next one. And here it is asking that what profiles do you need to select? What kind of user profiles do you need to select? So right now I can either choose all of them, or right now basically I'm using mostly system administrator. So go ahead and select system administrator, click the button. It will be here and you can close it. But in future, if once you understand what profile is, you can select it multiple profiles, whoever need access to this app, and you can able to add them into the people or profiles. Basically profiles will consist of a lot of people who are assigned that profile. And then they can able to view it. So don't worry about it. But right now, just choose the admin and save and finish. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see if we can see what we just created. Voila, here you go. So we have star farmer test we just created. So the app is there. I can click on that and I can go to my brand new app called Star Farmer Test. Nothing is there. Why? Because if you remember, I told you I need to add objects, but we are starting from the scratch. So we did not create any objects yet. So what we did first, we just created an app. So we are good with our first task, creating a brand new app. So what is my next job? My next job is to create and
Excuse me, I have a question. I saved it, but I cannot see on my desktop.
when you say in desktop, what does that mean?
That means, yeah, I mean, I go there and I couldn't find it.
Did you choose the profiles?
Yes, I did.
You choose all the profiles?
Yeah, I mean, system administration. Then after that, I finished the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
And you still don't see it? That's fine. So just keep hang on to that. And once we finish the class, you can share your screen and I can work on that. Okay. All right. So I don't want to detract everybody. So we can troubleshoot. So in case if you have any questions, you can wait till the end of the class. And then once we close the session, I can have a couple of extra minutes and you can able to share your screen and I can work with you directly. Okay. But typically you can see that just follow the procedure and you can able to see the app right there. Okay. So the app is available. I click on the app and I can able to see it is there, but nothing is in there. No object is there. So our next stop is how to create an object. Again, what we need to do. So let's pick up an object that we will create. So in the example, there are about 6 different objects. So we can go here and we can start with any of the object from here. So 4 are on one page, 2 are on their page. So let's say I can pick one of the object and start creating that. So I can pick hospitals. I may have created pharma products, so I can just pick up hospital. And let's create this object called hospitals, and these are the fields within that. So let's first create the object, and then we can go back and create the fields. All right. So if you want to create an object, it doesn't matter where you are in terms of apps, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is basically, if I just close this for now, back on the first page, again, remember, you just need to go to setup and click the setup. Once you click the setup, you will have home and object manager. So object manager, because we will be using that so much. As a default, the object manager is always there. So you don't even need to search for object manager, okay? So here what we decided that what is the name of our object called hospital, and how we can get that is we can go to settings and object manager, okay? So I go to object manager, which is, I don't need to search for it because it's already here. But rest of them you need to search. Only the object manager is available right next to you. But rest of everything else like apps and everything else, we actually search it. Or if you know where they are, you can directly go there and click it, right? But here object manager is one of the widely used functionality. So they already have it ready for you. So first thing first, we need to create a new object called hospital. Just quickly see if we should not have any hospital before. Sometime I create for testing purposes. I don't see anything. We are good. Let's go ahead and create a new object. There's something called quick find. This is if you already have an object, if you want to find. So for example, let's say if I try to see if I have anything hospital, it doesn't show up. Let's say if I try to find accounts, account object comes up. Let's see if I want to find Ali something. I created these two custom objects, they comes up. So quick way of finding something, any object is just a quick find. So I just make sure that I don't have any hospital, nothing comes up, I'm good to go. Schema builder will come back to that. Right now we'll go to create and create custom object. Custom object from spreadsheet, what it means is obviously if you have multiple custom objects in future, don't try it right now. In future, once we really understand everything, we'll come back and use some of the quick feature options like object from spreadsheet. But right now, don't worry about it. Just click on custom object. Okay. First thing first, label. What is the label of our custom object is hospital. What is the ruler? We can just take that and put an S with it. Okay. If it is start with the vowel sound, you can say yes, it doesn't really matter. What is the object name? Hospital. Description, if you want to define what this object for. So for example, this object contain information for the hospitals star pharma is providing services. And why this is important? This is important because as an admin, you create something, but a lot of other people, even you can have more than one admins, you can have developers, and even the other people who are accessing it as a users. If they can if you created, probably you know the purpose, but other people don't. So it's always good to put some sort of description so that if somebody else access and if you're not available, they can able to understand what is this object is made for, or what is the purpose of that object. Open the standard Salesforce help and training window. Open a window using a visual force page. Again, we can go with the standard objects, standard options. Okay, so here they have something called record name and data type. So there are 4 fields that come along with the object manager as a default. Okay, and one of the fields is the name. Okay, so this field, for example, if we go back to our Excel sheet here, you can see the first um, field that we need to create is called hospital name. So while we are creating the object, I will show you the 4 other fields, but one of the 4 fields are actually a name field. So this field is already there, so we can rename it according to what we need, but in this case it is matching perfectly. Otherwise, if we want, we can add something and it will be matching. In this case, it's perfectly matching our first field. And what is the name of the hospital? It could be text or an auto number. So in this case, it's a name of a hospital is a text. So we select the text. What is auto number? Auto number is something like, for example, you want a record number. So the record number is record number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Automatically, it will increase. So you don't need to provide input. It will be automatically increased. In this case, we need an input. So we select the text. Again, if you don't understand, that's fine. I'll show you again and you will understand it. Optional features, allow reports, allow activities. Right now, we just keep everything as is, as a default. Other objects as is, deployment status as is. What it means by in development is, for example, in future, when you're working on different features, you don't deploy it right away. Here, we are doing all the testing, so we don't care. We keep it deployed. Right away, it will be available for your access. And then a couple of other options. We can say, okay, go ahead and save it. So what you did so far is you create a one brand new object, okay? Let's go back to our cheat sheet and see what we did. We create an object called hospital. So let's go back and see if you create that and how can you access that. So I can go back to the sales just to make sure I start from the scratch. I want to see if I have created an object called hospital is there or not. I go back to setup. I go back to object manager. I go to quick find, and I want to see if hospital object is now created. Previously, it was not created. Right now, we just created, so I can see that and I can click on it and I can see that, okay, this object is now created. So you have just completed your second creation of an object. So here in an object, if I try to edit the object, and now I can try to explain few things here. Is this is the one, for example, if you need to change something, you can always change it in terms of edit. And if I go to, so when I go to object manager and I select the object, so you can see setup, object manager, and object is selected called hospital. So now you are inside an object. You're not anymore inside the object manager, but you move from setup to object manager, and now you are sitting on an object called hospital. So there are different tabs within that. So now if you can see your left hand side, you have a sequence of different tabs. The first one is just giving you a high level details. We can go and switch to something called fields and relationship. Okay, so here's a new item for you. So whenever you create a new object, these 4 fields will be created automatically, okay? And you cannot even kind of delete them. The only field that you have access that you can edit in terms of name is the name field, because sometimes you want to collect the name or an auto number. So only this field, if you can see, is editable. So you can edit, and all you can edit is just the name and either is a text or an auto number. The rest of the fields, which is like created by, modified by, an owner, you cannot change or you cannot do anything. Why? Because one of the problems or one of the issues that in the database is, for example, if a user create a record, okay, if I create a record, I put the information, and tomorrow one of my colleague go in and by accidentally delete that, how would I know? How would I know who accessed that? How would I know who created that? So how would I do the history tracking? So some of these fields will be used by that, and that's why even admin cannot able to delete some of these fields. So for example, created by is captured whenever this object is created. So it was created by me. So it will be, my name will be there no matter what, okay? Name field is editable, and but again only editable in terms of either a data type, either you can change the name of the field, or you can just select a text or an auto number. That's it, but the field will be there. Last, modified by, again, if somebody is going into the database and making some change, I can able to see who is modifying. So if 10 people modified at the course of 10 days or 1 day or 1 hour, there are ways you can run the complete history tracking, set history tracking, and you can able to see whoever accessed this field, this object, this app, you can get everything. So if anything goes wrong, a data is deleted, a value is changed, whatever, from the people who have access, again, there is a way you can restrict the access. So first of all, if the information, for example, if not supposed to be seen by somebody, I can restrict so they cannot even see it. But if somebody who have access and also I want to see who change it, I can able to see it as an admin. We can run some reports. We need to make sure the history tracking is on, and we can do that. Same thing is owner. Owner is somebody who has created this field, or in this case, this object. And in future, you can change the owners if you want to, but again, that's something normally you don't do it. All right, so these 4 fields are created by defaults. Only one field out of these 4 is the one that we already have in our database available. So this field we already created as part of our initial study. So we are good with that. Now we need to create these different fields. Okay. Before doing that, is everybody clear how to create an object? Because now we'll be moving and able to create fields as a next topic. But do you understand how to create an object? Any question? Okay, no question is good. It means everybody got it. And again, if you don't got it in the future, make sure you can let me know and I can revert it back. Now, let's go to the third task, which is how to create fields, right? As we are going in a sequence, create a field or fields, right? Again, let's pick up one field at a time. Our next field is address. And everybody, if you know, good. If you don't know, when we talk about a field, we need to understand what type of field. Okay, so for example, if we say address, can anybody tell me what type of field is that address is?
It's standard?
I'm sorry, what?
Standard field?
Standard field.
It's a text, alphanumeric text, right?
Alphanumeric text. So when I say address type of the field, it means that, for example, let me switch it to something else. If I ask you date, what is the type of the field? It's called date type, right? Date is written in a particular format. And again, I can give you a very quick example. I hope everybody will understand that. Let's say if you have a column in Excel sheet, okay, and you want it formatted. If you go to format cells, and the first thing you see a different category. So what is these? So these are different types of field. So it could be a journal. It could be a journal is anything. Number is means that it should be only a number, right? And you can select how many after digits you need. So for example, if I select number, it means that I'm expecting a number input. Okay. What others could be the option? The other options could be a date type. So date is here. Date has a particular format. Time has a particular format. If it is something simple as address, address is like a text, because address could be 20668 Parkside Circle, Sterling, Virginia. It's a combination of alphanumeric, as somebody says very precisely, is an alphanumeric combination. It could be a time. Time has a particular format, and you can select the different formats. So same thing. So in Salesforce also, when you're creating a new field, you need to understand what type of field we need. So in our sample, we have provided the type here. So text, because why? Because your type of address is alphanumeric, is normally called text. So the field will be text. And again, how do you go there? You can go to, actually you'll follow the same path as you create the object. But within that, you can go to one layer down called fields and whatever it's called, fields and relationships. Okay, so now we go into field and relationship, and we need to create a field named address, and type is text. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to Salesforce. We were on the detail tab first. We switched to fields and relationship. We see that 4 fields are created automatically. We are good. Now we need to create our new field. So we need to create a new, click new, and it will give you, first of all, you need to select the type of the field. So we already established that this field is called text. We select the text option here, move on to the next screen. Now it's asking for the label. We set address, length, 20 characters good enough, field name, description, whatever you want, help text, required. Okay. Now, when you fill a form, you know there are some fields, it says red static or static on top, and it says you have to fill in. A very good example of that is a credit card number. When you input a credit card number, it will have static on credit card number, expiration, and 3-digit code, right? It means that if you miss any of these 3 fields, it will not let you move on to the next screen, and it will give you an error message saying that please input, for example, if you don't input the card number, please input the card number. If you miss the expiration, please input expiration, or please input what. But what basically you are doing there, you are saying that that field is required. So here, if you make any field required, meaning that you cannot enter a record without providing this information, you can click this button. Okay. And then here is a unique, meaning this is just a, for example, if you input something as ABC caps or ABC small, it will basically treat that as a duplicate value, or it will create as a different value. So again, it's a case sensitive or insensitive. Again, normally we'll keep it as a default. And let's move on to the next one. Okay, here. So what we have here, this field is called establish field level security. Okay. I will not go into the detail, but just for a high level, because we haven't discussed this topic, here if you feel called for profile, right? And we just discussed that there are multiple types of profiles. So one profile that we are using right now is we are saying system administrator. But a lot of these profiles are also available. All we are doing is we are keeping the default. So what it means that whatever that you are creating right now, the field will be visible by everybody if they belong to any of these profiles. If I uncheck that and basically use the something else, that you can able to select that. And for some fields you can, and some fields you can. All right, so we just created a field here. This is the last page. The field label is address, data type is text, field name is address, and description is just a sample. And we need to create multiple fields if you remember. So after the address, we have phone. So let's just create the next one right away. So we can say phone is the next one. So here there's an option called, either you can save and it will be out, or you can say save and new, meaning that one more field. I click save and new. And what is the type of the phone is called phone. So let's see if there is something called phone. Here is something called phone. Again, the format will be in terms of phone. The field label is phone, field name, description, help desk. I'm just gonna move on quickly this time. And we can create one more, which is, so phone is done. We selected, and the next is email. We can create a new one. Email type is also email, and there is a type called email. Again, the name is email, all that good stuff. We keep it default for now, and we'll create a new one. So email is done. What next is a website. So there is actually a URL, or you can select a text as well, but they do have a URL. So if something is not there, you can always select the text or long text or something like that to alter that. But most of them you will find that they are available. Good to go. Website is done. What is the last one is type. So I put it picklist. I can add something here just to make it simple. So hospital type can be, for example, we can say what type of hospital I should be. defined. So maybe we can say small.
Like children hospital or
Yeah, you can do children, whatever, anything like that's yeah, I think the children might be better. So children, other one will be full service and whatever. And they could be anytime, but right now, just for our sake of example, we pick up children hospital and children and full service, right? These two options. And what we are looking for is a type called a pick list. So the reason is just to show you what pick list mean. So the next object we are creating is called pick list. We go here, we select called pick list right here, and you say next. Now here is one small thing that you need to understand. So when we say type, so here it says use global pick list value set. So we don't have any global pick list values set, but in future we can. Right now we don't. So what we can do is we select something called enter value with each value separated by a new line. So whatever options you have, like in our case, we have children, that's first option. And the second option is full service. Just go to the next line and input that. Now let's say you want to add more, just every line you can put a new option and they all come up as a drop down. Okay, so every line, and it says very clearly here, enter values with each value separated by a new line. Caveman can read that. All right, perfect. So we have just two options for now. I can select these two options. Here there are some other nice to have: display alphabetically, use first value as a default, whatever if you want. If not, then fine, description, whatever you want, help desk, and everything else should be the same. Just this part was a little tricky, so I added that. We also have pick list. Now, one thing I'm also want to show you, which sometimes people get confused, although we are done with all our fields, but I just want to add one more field here called auto number. Okay, I'm just going to do an example so that you can understand. Sometimes people get confused. So let's say we have one more field called auto number. Auto number, think about auto number as something that you want to generate automatically. You create a new, like a record number. So you don't want to, because let's say if you have 10 people working on a system and everybody's creating a record, how do you know what is the current record number, right? You don't know. You want system to generate based on the system information. So it is called auto number. So let's say if I create a new auto number, let's say here we want something like, we can call it hospital, uh, blah, 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 anything like hospital reference number, right? Just in case, if as many hospitals as we are working, they can be reference number anytime it is reference. Display format. Okay, so how will that look like? So so see, this is example A, and then in a curly brackets, you can put as many number as you want. Now, anytime if you need to understand, always try to get the help. Okay, so if you click on the help, it will give you a very clear instructions what it means like. So if you want just a numeric value, it is required at least you can give one number. But if you think your number could be more than, like, so zero meaning you can have 0 to 9. If you have if you have two digits, like let's say you have 0 to 99, you can put two zeros in a braces. If you have 3, 4, 5, whatever number you think you have, you can put that. If you want to put a year option, you can do this, month option. And display format is, if you can see here, 0, 1, and then it can sequence number 0 to 500. No formatting. This is leading past 0. So all it is saying is, for example, I want to create a format like hospital dash curly brackets, and I want, like, I assume that my data will be maximum what, like 3 or 4 digits, let's say 4 digits, right? So that will cover from 0 to the 0 to 4 digits, right? And then here, what is your starting number? So I want to start from 0, and that's it. Once you do that, it will create an automatic number starting from hospital dash 0, hospital dash 1, hospital dash 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whenever it's done with that, it will turn into tenth, then thousands, and 10,000. So we have already 40 covered. If you want more, you can always put more. Not a big problem. We can, everything else we can select it. And this time, because we don't need to create anything new, we can save it. Okay. Any questions so far before I showed you what we have done so far? Any questions? We have created a couple of fields. Before that, we created an object. Before that, we created an app. And right now, everything is like all over the place. So we're going to put together everything under one roof. But before that, just want to make sure you understand, excuse me, individually, if it makes sense. Is everybody good? Any questions?
Can you tell me what is the major difference between system admin and user?
Sure. So system admin has this profile called administrator. So if we go to home, if we go to users, if we go to profiles, there are many profiles, okay? And again, I don't want to go into the detail, but just to give you a very high level answer, if you want to search for a system admin profile, if you assign this profile to any user, they become system admin as well, meaning they have access to everything. They can create accounts, they can delete accounts. So system admin has a lot of privileges, meaning, for example, system admin, you can consider a building, building administrator, right? The building administrator have keys to every room, no matter what, right? So if a building has 10 different offices and each office has different rooms, some of the rooms has different locks, system admin is a person who has keys, or basically not a system admin, but this profile called system admin profile is a set of keys which has access to every door in that building. Now, if as a user, I able to get my hands on into this profile or a set of key, basically I'm equal to system admin, right? I can also able to go into any room in that building. So system admin is nothing but a person who has 100% privilege. He can able to see everything. He can able to delete in some cases. He can able to retrieve the data. But if you're working in a company, let's say your company has 10 people, one person who is hired as a system admin, he will have this profile, and everybody else will be a user, and everybody else will have different type of profile. So for example, everybody else in your organization is for example is let's say if we go back to
So Khurram, basically everybody is user with different profiles.
with different profiles with less privileges. So for example, if you are a standard user, so a standard user can have, you can, whatever system admin can allow you, you can see it. And if he don't allow you, you cannot see it. But if I assign a system admin profile to another person in the company, he can also become almost like an admin. He can do whatever he wants. Okay, makes sense? Okay. All right. Going back to what we were asking is, so the question was, is everybody clear on what we have created? So far what we did is we have created an app called Pharma. Okay. We have created an object called hospital, and within the object we created different fields. Okay. Now let's go back one by one and see where they are. So right now, if I go back into my app, Pharma app, I don't see anything here. I don't see any object here. Okay. If I want to see my object, the object is actually there. If I go to setup, if I go to object manager, and if I search hospital, my object is here, but I cannot see it inside the um, actual
App.
app. Thank you. So, and again, if I want to see my fields, you can see all the fields right here. Okay, so we are good. All we are missing is to show this app hospital under the app that we have just created. Okay, so it involves two steps. First step is this object is there, but this object is not created as a tab. So what is tab? First of all, you understand what is tab. If I go into sales object, Sales Cloud, I mean. And these are different account. Account is an object, but this thing is called tab. So even if I go to my to a regular browser, you call this tab, right? Tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, right? So tab is nothing but basically a representation of an object, right? But in Salesforce, you need to create this tab so that you can assign any object and create a tab. And then that tab can be added to any app. Okay, maybe it might sounds weird, but let's go ahead and do that, and then hopefully you can understand. So let's go back to let's go back to setup. Every time you need to do something new or create something, you go back to settings, go back to home, search bar, quick search, and now just search something called tab, T-A-B-S. And here you go, click on tabs. And what we are doing now, please make sure that we are now creating tabs. Okay, tab for, we are creating tab for what? Creating for our object called hospital. So again, the reason why I am um, emphasizing on so much is because I have a lot of students, they come back and they were very confused with this. What is tab? What is object? What is this? What is that? So I'm trying to be as explicit, and maybe I'm sure some of you might be like, this is too much details, but I mean, just bear with me because we have some students who do not have tech background. And again, for them is everything is very weird, and I'm just jumping around a lot of things. So just bear with me, and hopefully everybody can able to get this. So what are we doing? We are creating a tab. The object is already created, fields are already created, but now we need to create a tab for objects. Let's go ahead and do that. We go to tabs, we go to settings tab, and here we can say create a new tab, new, and then in the drop down you can see hospital. That is what we need, and it is already available because you created the object already. Create the object. If you want to change the color, change it, doesn't matter. And all you need to do, go to next. Okay, so here it says new custom object tab, add to profiles. Again, if you want a very selected profile to see this is a page you can do that. If you'd want everybody to see it, that's fine, default on. Let's move on to the next one. For now, we can select the defaults, move on to the next one. Okay, so here it says add to custom apps. Okay, so let's uncheck this. And what we have here, so we can see something called sales, service, marketing, all of that. Let's find the one that we created. So we created Star Pharma app. So we will only select this one. Now remember I mentioned that you can have this object available across different apps. So that's the location. So let's say I want this app not only to show in Star Pharma, but also another app called CarMax and maybe another app called Sales. Okay, these three apps should have this app tab called hospital. Okay, is everybody clear with that? So there's a location where you can choose that. And again, you can go back and forth. There are some other ways to do that, but here you can save it. And this tab is now created called hospitals. Okay, now let's see if we can able to see that tab in our object. Did we add to that? Okay, so hospital is available in CarMax. Let's get back to pharma. Did I select that? I don't know. And we select Salesforce also. Okay, let's go back and check. So let's say we added that hospitals, let's edit that. Okay, I can go to directly the apps. So for example, I think I may have missed adding that one. So if I go directly to my apps, so this is another way you can get it. I can go back and see why I don't see it over there, but you can go to App Manager. So that's another way of adding it. And I can go straight to the app that we have created, right? This one, add it. We go to navigation items. We go to hospital, and then we can add into selected items. And again, as you said, you can also add more. For example, if you want to add, just to test it out, you want to add some standard objects, accounts, you can also add it. If you want to add contacts, whatever you want, you can add it from this location as well. So there are multiple ways to do that. If you miss from one location, no problem, you can add it from other location. So let's say we want to add these three and save it. And here you go. All three apps are now available. So now if I want to see hospitals, if I click on that, if I want to see all, right now I have no records. If I want to see accounts, which is a standard, if I want to see all the accounts, if they are available, so this is the default one, a standard object, contacts. If I click all, these are all standard created from before. I can see that hospital we just created, we did not add any record. But let me take a pause and make sure everybody understood. Let me repeat it once and then we can go back. So what I did is, first we need to create the app. After that, we created an object. Within the object, we created fields. Let's say you are done with that. Now you need to show that app into any, show that object into any app. First thing, you need to just go to settings and create a tab for that particular app. So I can go to tab. And then I can create a new tab for any new object that I've created. And again, you can assign it to any app, or you can just leave it at this point, up to you. So for example, right now there's hospital is already have a tab, but this test object has no tab, so that's why it is showing up. So the object that already have a tab, they will already showing up over here. So hospital already have a tab. Once I have the tab, and if, for example, I missed it, for example, in this case, I can, no problem, I can always go back to home. I can always go back to apps, and I can directly select the app which I need to include. So for example, I can go to App Manager. I already have the app selected, for example, Star Pharma. I want to go to edit. And if you remember, on the left-hand side, it has all the different options. So I can go, I can see the different options like a utility, navigation, user profile. So I can go straight to navigation items and I can add, because now it is created as a, so the difference that you can check when you are creating, do not create a tab, then you will not able to find that into the drop down, because the object, if it has no tab, it will not show up over here. As soon as you go back and create a tab, it will be available over here and you can add as here. So the difference, and I got a lot of questions about this, and just to explain that, you can try creating creating an object, try to add that object into using this page. You will not see that object in the drop down. Go back, create a tab for that object and come back on this location and then try to see and filter. You can able to see that object as a tab available, and then you can quickly add into your application. And once you do that, you can go back and make sure, always refresh your pages, because what happens is when you create it, you might be sitting on the previous one. So just go back and refresh the page, and you can able to see the three different tabs or objects that we have added over here. All right, let me take a pause and take any questions that you may have. Is everybody clear?
I have a
Uh,
question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Is there any limit to add objects in a application?
There are, but they are very high limitations. Like you can create almost like hundreds of them, but there are limitations. So if
Right.
you want to
So
check the limitations, you can check on a Salesforce help guide. And because each limitations can be how many objects you can create, how many fields you can create within the field, how many characters you can have. So there are different levels, and there's a help document for each of the information that you can look into.
Right. If, like it doesn't seem easy to display like 100 tabs like that. I mean, so it's gonna. So we have option to display differently later on if we have like.
Yeah. So again, in one app, why would you even display 100 tabs? Question is that, right? But if you want to, yes, you can. So it will come up as a drop down. I can show you. For example, if you go to sales, all it will do is it will give you more option. And then let's say if you have 100, the 100 list will come up. No problem. It will show up. I mean, they already have ways or interface available for showing that. But again, I mean, it does not really make sense to have 100 objects in one. Rather than you can distribute them in different classification and create different apps for that. So for example, if it is something related to marketing, something related to sales, surveys, whatever your classification is, better to distribute that. But in case if you have a Verge scenario where you have 100 apps, 100 objects, and you still need to show under one app, and if your Salesforce limit allow that, then you can able to have it.
Okay, and one more question, like, can I know the object I have created? It already has a tab, or can I
Yes,
see?
sure,
Okay.
sure. You can, if you go back, if you remember, that's what I showed you. All you can do is, let's close this one. If you go to setup, go to tabs. Okay. Okay. Click on tabs. It will show you if you already created your tab or not right here. It says custom object tabs.
Okay.
Okay. So if you already created, for example, now if I try and go, so for example, I forget about hospitals. If I try to create new in the drop down, it will not give me the ones which already have it. And then the reason is why, because it is already created. And if I want to confirm, it should be here.
Okay, not in the object manager. I cannot see in a single view, like on
No,
top.
you have to come over here to see if the object is created or, because this is related to tab, not the object. Okay. Any other questions? So is everybody clear how to create tabs, how to create objects, how to create apps, how to add fields, things of that sort? Is any question which is still not clear? Because basically what you will be doing is in the before the next class, you can submit me as a homework of creating all 6 different apps with the screenshot like this showing your app. For example, if I select this app, so what is your homework is basically, and the class is not done by the way, I'm just telling you. So it should have like a snapshot of Star Pharma, 6 apps, 6 of the tabs with each object, and also give me a separate screenshot for each object with at least 4 to 5 records. Okay, so that will be your homework. In next class you can submit via email, and all I'm looking for just a screenshot, so 5 or 6 screenshots which will show me the object is the app is created, the object is created, and each object can have like at least minimum 3 to 5 records. And just take a quick screenshot and just attach it to the email and send it to me. In that way I know you guys have actually created that, and I will obviously count that against how you are progressing. Because if you are not doing that in next class, if you have a question, it's going to be irrelevant, because if you don't go through the first lecture, everything else is connected to everything that you're learning now. So if you don't practice the prior section, I doubt if you can really understand the next section. So I would really encourage everybody to make sure you submit your homework and try to finish it off if possible today, tomorrow. Sooner the better. Don't try to do it at the last minute. And again, whoever do it more, there's an extra a service that I'm providing, which is a paid service, which is called mentoring. So I also provide professional mentoring services, which is a paid service. So the top 3 candidates who actually submit all their homeworks and be on a target, I will provide that as a free of cost. I will work individually on their resumes, on their LinkedIn profile, and on their interview preparation, free of cost, one-on-one basis. So that is something I can offer in my premises. So I would really encourage everybody to make sure you complete your task, you do what you're supposed to do. In that way, you can understand, and in some cases, you may have more questions moving forward. And I will also try to see if I can announce in every class, who is submitting and how good is they are submitting. And again, if you have any question within the same email, you can also let me know. So, all right. So having said that, is there still any question? We want to take a quick 10 minutes break before we move on to the next topic. But any questions before we go on a 10?
For one quick question, for entering data as a customer, do I need a separate account to get logged in, or?
Yes. So any data that you're adding, so so whatever you have done so far, right? You create all these items. So you can think about it. These items will be created by admin. Okay. And the rest of the company, for example, if you're working in a bank, so let's say you have an IT department, and IT department has one Salesforce person who is admin. So admin has created so far this everything for you, right? So he has created the app, he has created everything else. Now the people who work in a branch, like the rest of your team, which is your extension of the team, they also have a Salesforce license. They also have access to the Salesforce, and now they will start adding the data. So for example, how do you add a data? If I go to hospitals, if I click on new, and you remember all these fields you have created. So for example, the first field was, and again, just to reference, if you understand, so first field was hospital name, right? And this is the hospital name. Second field was hospital address. Sorry, you have an address. Next was phone. You have phone, you have email, you have website. And remember, we created and then we have a type, and then we created a reference number, which is here. So let's say if I want to add, and this is, for example, if you have an admin, as an admin, you work in a bank, Bank of America, as an admin, you created everything. Now, one of the branch personnel is adding the data. So for example, I work for the bank in sales department. I'm adding a data. I add the address, phone number, website, whatever, and type. If you remember, we selected 2 types. So children, and this number, you see there's no input because it will automatically come up and you will see that. So I save the data. So this is the first record which is created. Now, if you want to see the list, click on the hospital again. And this is the first record that you have created. Let's create another record. So this is now created by the regular users. They still need a Salesforce license, but they are probably not admin. Admin just make everything ready for you, and now they can actually create it.
So does your slide explain that, right? We need 2 separate. I think I have 1 account, but I think I don't
No,
have
so
the
for
separate.
now, for the practice purposes, within the same account, you can just create records as well. It doesn't matter, right? So, but I'm just telling you in practicality, one person as an admin create the account, and other people who are working, they will add the account. But you can just imagine you are also a person, you can just add new accounts. So you can able to do everything under one license.
Okay, I was a little confused. Okay.
So for example, right now, if I want to click, so these are 2 records, and this is how all the records will be created. If I want to see a detail of one record, if I click on it, there are 2 tabs. One is called related, one is called details. Most of the information is in the detail. So you see that first record I created, the reference number hospital dash, I say start with the 0, is called 0000. All the information is here. I am the owner, modified by me. Remember all these standard fields? So this is modified by, created by me, modified by me, and then created, modified, and owner. And then the first field was name, which was the text field. So these 4 fields were standard. Rest of the fields, all of them are custom. And then the related one, I'll show you in future what related means. But if I go back to the record number 2, uh, first one was 0000. The next one is 0001. If you create the third one, it will be 0002, 3, 4, and it will just go on by itself without me provided the input. In that way, if you have 10 different people entering different accounts, they all will be managed by the Salesforce itself, and you don't, or a user do not need to remember what will be the reference number. So this is called auto number. All right. Any questions? So we added a data as well. So we added data for two hospital, and then hospital 2, and then all the details are inside that.
I'm facing to create an app, as I asked you before.
Were you able to create now?
No, I couldn't. I was trying actually.
What you did, you create an app, and you don't see it. That's it.
No, I didn't see it. Yeah.
Let's do quickly, so everybody else can follow as well. Go to setup.
Yep.
Okay. Go to app.
App.
Okay. And select app manager. Click new lightning app.
Apps manager.
Yes, apps manager.
I think I select app. That's why. New lighting app, right?
Correct. New lightning app. Click new lightning app, and then here give a name, whatever, test app, anything. Okay.
Just do.
Does this window open up for you, new lightning app?
Yes, it does.
Okay, just give a name, anything for now. Test app, anything, Star Pharma, and just start clicking next, next, next. Don't worry about anything. Just click next, 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 and save and finish.
Next. It still doesn't show.
Doesn't show up?
No.
Okay, what you can do is, okay, I think I did a mistake. Do you know what mistake did I do? I did not select the profile. Did you select the profile?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so let's do that.
Let me go again.
Yeah, let's go back and do the profile.
So I have to do the app manager, right?
Yep. You can just click on the edit and go on to user profile. Just either select all of them or just select the at least the admin one.
Which one we gonna select user profile?
Just select everything. Go on the first one, shift, select all, and then select everything, just in case if you have some other profile selected.
It says no profile selected. How am are you gonna convert it to there, right? Yeah.
So what you can do is go to the first one, select it, shift, and then select everything. For example, like this, and then I can move it back and forth. So I can move all of them here, move it on the selected profile. So go to the first one and shift, and then arrow key, and then select everything, like how you select all.
Okay.
And then there's a there's a move button that move everything on the right hand side, which is selected portal, like which is called selected profiles.
Yes, I did. Let's see now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's here now.
You can see it now.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's why I try to skip that and see. I also got the same thing, so I got at the point that what could be missed. Okay.
Yes. So within this, so I can make a from the setup, I can make an object that way you did it, right?
Exactly. So from here,
Yeah.
you can go to navigation items, and for example, if you have a new object here, let me see if I have any new object here which I haven't used. So for example, LE object, I can move it here, and this app will have this object already. Account, move it, whatever you want, whatever objects you want to move here, You
Yeah.
can move it. Yep, and save it, and then this app will have those objects available. All right. Save it, refresh it, go back, refresh the app. You should have.
Where I can find this navigate?
You mean this? Oh, on the left hand side, same thing. Go back to. Okay, I can show you. So go back to manager, apps manager. So go back to apps manager, app manager,
Yep.
and select the app. The way you select the app is you have this drop down on the right hand side, edit, and then on your left hand side you have different tabs. Select the navigation items.
So I have to open the app right before?
Yes, you have to open the app. Not app from somewhere else, but app from the app manager. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so 1 second, I can show you. So for example, this is your app, right? Test app.
Yep.
If you go all the way to the right, there's this drop down and say edit.
Oh, edit button. Yeah.
If you edit that, it will actually open up a brand new window. And this is now you're inside the app. This is called test app. So here, if you go on the left hand side, you can see navigation items, and navigation items have all your objects and
So
other stuff.
whatever I need to work on, so I have to select an item, right?
You can select the object and then you can move it on the right hand side, which means this is now selected item.
So then I can save it, right?
Yep. Then once you select it, save it, and then this object will start appearing into this object called test app.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank
Alright.
you.
Okay, guys, so we'll take a quick 10 minutes break. We'll be back on 2:01 Eastern and 1:01 on Central and whatever is on the PST. So we'll see you in next 10 minutes. Okay, is everybody back? All right. Before, can you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what we have done so far, and again, you can find that into our notes that I'm going to send it out. And some of the things are probably covered within that, or maybe some of these things will be covered in future. So it's not a specific format, but you will find whatever we will be doing today in the PDF file that I will send out after the lecture. So we have learned into how to create different objects, how to create an app, and then how to create different fields. So that we can have a complete data model. And then once we move on to our future lectures, we can utilize this as our data model, and then we can add and do multiple functionality. We can use multiple functionalities and create, I'm sorry, multiple functionalities with that. So having said that, next item, again, it is again a very critical item, very, very fundamental item, is something called relationships. Now, we just talked about creating different objects, and you understand different objects are um, different buckets that can contain different fields. So this is one bucket, this is other bucket. Now, sometimes these buckets are related to each other. Okay. And if they are related to each other, you need to kind of connect them with each other. Okay. So before getting into the details, there are two main types of relationship. One is called one to many, right? And the other one is called many to many. Okay. So these two types of relationships are there. And again, what are we talking about? We're talking about two objects and how they are connected with each other. And there are two main types. They are connected with each other, one to many and many to many. So for example, if we want to learn about one to many, is these two examples is a simple illustration. So for example, you have a product or a company name, Apple, and Apple can have multiple products. So product one could be iPhone, product two could be um, a Mac, product three could be a watch, and so on and so forth. So one object, which is a company name or account, can have multiple products. Make sense? Now, if that particular product, for example, of an iPhone, can that product belongs to multiple companies? Probably not, right? So if we are talking about Apple phone, even with the name, it says it belongs to Apple. But Apple can have multiple products. So if I really want to draw that, it means that I have an object one and I have object two, okay? And object one has a field called Apple, which is the name of the company. Object two has something else which contain the products, and this name of the object can be product as well. So here it can have iPhone, Mac, watch, and so on and so forth, right? Now, how are they connected to each other, right? One can have many, right? Let me see if I can use some nice drawing tools. Let's see. Okay. So these are many objects and this is one object. Okay. Now which one, if I have one object here, which is iPhone, okay, this iPhone can have multiple companies? Probably not. It has to belong to just one company, at least in this scenario, right? So what we are saying here, this is one and this is many. And this is basically called one to many relationship. Okay. Can anybody have any other example of one to many?
Car makers.
So what would be the first object?
You know, they make all kinds of vehicles like vans, sedans, SUVs, and whatnot. So
Right. Let's come up with like a different type of example so that they're kind of similar to like a product, right? So let's say you talk about classroom, right? So you can have a class number, right? So for example, you have a class number or grade number one, and you have another object. So this is our object. Same thing as object one is maybe classes, and object two can be students. And we are talking about a regular school, right? Where you can only be in one class at a time, okay? So here, you can have, for example, grade one, right? And here you have a list of students like A, B, C, D, right? So normally what will happen is in this grade one, for example, you can have okay, now I have too many things here. Okay, no. So let's say I have grade one and student A and student C belongs to grade one. Okay, so this is one, and then you can have as many as you want. So let's say if you have another one D also, right? Again, as we said, this is a regular school. Can A student, and then you have another grade, which is grade two. So in this scenario, is the A can be in different grades? Probably not, right? In some other scenarios, it may be, right? But in this particular scenario, if it is a regular school and you are in a, you are following a regular curriculum, a student can only belongs to one grade, one class, but one class can have many students. Same thing, one to many, right? Now, if I delete, okay, so that is everybody understood what is one to many? Okay, so the other type of the relationship I mentioned is called many to many. Okay, now first understand the difference between one to many and many to many. So what is the difference between many to many? Can anybody have any example that we can use? What is many to many? Anybody has any background in data analytics or anything that you can share an example?
Invoice with
We,
product.
yep, invoice and product. Anything else?
A student and subject. One student can take many subject.
Yeah. So, for
Many.
example, like here we said a regular school, but for example, if it is not a regular school, it's just a you know, a university or a center where you can take whatever subjects you want. So that can be something. So, for example, here we can have subjects rather than classes, and then here we have students. So, for example, so we have, let's say, maths and English, and here you have A, B, and C, right? Now let's say maths class can have all three students, and A is a student, he can also take all three classes, isn't that right? If I am student A, I can enroll myself in all three classes. And if one class, we can have all three students in there. So that is called many to many relationship. Okay. And this is called where you have one to many, called one to many relationship. Is everybody clear on that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, for a second, forget about many to many. Okay, just kind of erase that for now for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back to that. Within one to many, there are two types of relationship called master detail and lookup. So let's talk about, so this one we can kind of forget about it for now. Okay, and easier way to erase it. Okay, very good. All right, so now we said we have two type of relationship within one to many. One is called master detail and other is called lookup. Okay, sorry, master detail is just a one word. Master detail and lookup. Okay, so these are two choices you have. It doesn't mean that in every scenario there's a fix, it is fixed, right? So for example, it is just a tool to use. So for example, if you have a add addition button, it's up to you that whatever condition require, you can do addition, or condition require subtraction, if a condition require multiplication. So it's based on the scenario, right? You can understand what the subtraction mean, what addition operation mean, what a multiplication operation mean, and based on the different scenarios, you can choose wherever you want. Okay, so if I say I have two things, what should I use? Should I use addition or subtraction? You will ask me what you want to do. Do you want to sum them up, or do you want to remove one from another? What do you want? And I'll say I want to add them. I'll say, okay, now here you go. Here's a tool called sum. Use this and you can add these two items. So for example, if I say I have a letter 5 and a letter 3, right? And I will say, what should I use? Should I use a sum, or should I use a subtract, right? I can use either, right? Doesn't matter. But you will tell me, if you are the client, that you will tell me, what do you want? You said, you know what? I want this item to be removed from this item. I'll say, okay, I know what you want. You need a subtraction. So I say, okay, subtraction can do this, subtraction can do that. And then based on that, you negotiate with the customer, and customer said, yeah, exactly, that's what I want, and you can use that. If the customer says, I want to add these two, you can say, okay, sure, I have a functionality called sum, and I can use that, to add these two together, and you can get an answer 8. So answer can be 8, answer can be 2, based on what customer is looking for. So similarly, you just need to understand what master detail means. What are the properties, like what is the properties of sum? And then you need to understand what is the property of lookup. It's not looks up, it lookup. And then you can use them wherever you need it, right? So there's no right or wrong answer. It depends upon what do you need it for. Okay, so let's talk about this scenario, which is a classroom. It's a regular school. So this is a regular school, right? And we have one object called classes, one object called student, okay? Now, first of all, I'll provide you some information about what does master detail mean and what does lookup mean. And based on that, you can think of a regular school, and you can think as a customer, and you can say, okay, what do I want? And based on what you want, you can pick up one or the other, okay? So what is master detail? So master detail has a couple of properties which are listed in my presentation. So let's walk through them quickly, and you can get a really good idea. So what master detail mean? When a record of the master object is deleted. Okay, so first of all, master detail is called a tightly coupled relationship. It is also known as parent-child relationship. Okay, I hope it has somewhere parent and child object are in tight bonding. Okay, right here. And it can also called a tight bonding relationship, or whatever you want to call it. It's like a very tight relationship. One of the other characteristics of this is, if you delete the parent, the child will also be deleted, which is over here. When a record of the master object is deleted, it related detail records will also be deleted. So that's a very significant um, characteristics, that if you delete the master, meaning, now let's understand what it means. And again, we are not deciding what it is, but what it means is, this is the master, and these other yellow ones are detail, right? So this is master, right? So this is a master object, and this is the detail side, okay? So if I delete grade 1, guess what? I cannot have A, C, D. Why? Because if there is no class, there is no student. Got it? So if I delete that, it makes sense that these all also should be deleted. Does it make sense?
So it has to be linked with both sides, right?
Yeah. So if you choose master detail, again, if we choose master detail, and if you delete grade 1, so if I delete, there's a nice strikeout button. Where is that? Underline. Where is the strikeout button? Anybody help? Where's this? Where's normally the strikeout button? I always forgot. Um, how you can strike out like this value? Where is that? Is it under here? This is just the angle. Text. I don't know. Anyways, so basically, let's say if you delete grade 1, so what I'm saying is, let's say delete grade 1, and if you choose the master detail here, right? If you created master detail relationship, these A, C, D will automatically be deleted. That's basically it. Okay. Now, and that is the main characteristic. There are some other characteristics also. For example, if you choose master detail, the security settings of the detail side of the records will also follow the master. And all of those characteristics are over here. Okay. And there's something called, where is that? There's something called roll up summary. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but on master detail, you can also have a roll up summary. What it means is, if you go to the grade 1 record, I can able to see the summary, how many of A, B, C are there, and I can get a summary of them. Okay, if this is a number or something like that, I can see a summary. But that's a little more detail. But right now, just understand that if I use master detail, what it means is, if I delete this record called grade 1, and these 3 records from object to students are related to this one using master detail, then these A, C, and D will be deleted automatically. Now, instead of master detail, if I choose lookup, and then I delete the grade 1, these 3 objects will not be deleted. Does it make sense?
Can you repeat it again, please?
Sure. So okay, so what I was saying is, for example, if you choose master detail relationship between these 2 objects, okay, and you delete one of the master record, the child records will be deleted automatically. So for example, if I use master detail here, right, master detail between these 2, and if I delete grade 1, A, C, and D records, not the object, all the records related to that will automatically be deleted. Meaning, if you don't have grade 1, then it means that you don't need any of the student information, and that records will also deleted automatically. Now, you said that, no, you know what, I don't want that, right? Let's say you talk to customer, you said, okay, if you use this, they will be deleted. Then you will say, no, I don't want that. I want the student information to be there. You said, okay, no problem. I can use lookup. So what lookup can do is, if you delete now the one of the records which is related by lookup, these 3 objects will not be deleted, but they will be as is. They will be still there. Okay. Now you may ask, okay, then why not lookup is always good? Because what happens is, if you use master detail, then you have to select the master record when you're creating the object. So I cannot skip it. So for example, if I use lookup, I not necessarily I need to provide the grade 1. I can leave it, and I'm still okay. I can create a record without pointing to my parent record. And if you do lookup, then you can skip it, that's fine. So data integrity, for example, if you want to make sure that every student object should always have grade 1, then master detail will ensure that you cannot create a record without selecting a grade. But if you use lookup, and if I leave that, I can do that. However, you can make the field required. And then there are some other features, like you can do a roll up summary. So based on your requirement, you can choose master detail and lookup, but you just need to remember what is the functionality. So the functionality is, master detail is called tightly coupled, right? Tightly coupled mean that if you remove one, the other will be removed. And this is called loosely coupled, meaning if one is gone, it doesn't matter, the other one will still be there, right? This is called, also known as parent-child relationship, meaning that if parent is gone, child will be also gone. This one is kind of a lonely, right? So even if one is gone, the other one will still be there. Does it make sense? Okay, now very quickly, we have only 5 minutes, but I can try to create something super quick, um, so that you can get a little better idea. Um, okay, let's see if I have something already created. I can show you that. What was the other one? Okay, this is many to many, probably gonna confuse you. So we already have hospitals. Let's see what we can create for another master detail from here, and we can quickly do that. So hospital and visit. Okay. So we can quickly see if we can create a visit object and relate to them is by master detail, and visit object is right here. Visit number, date, feedback, hospital, and that's where the relationship will go. So hospital we already have. Let's quickly create visit. So again, we can go to setup, and I'm gonna go a little bit quick now. Visits. Okay. um, I'll just create one sample field here. So let's say first one is visit number. So visit number, we can make it there. So we can do like a date. And what would be the next item I should do? Create a tab. I just created a new object. You can see it will normally come up as a drop down. Choose any color. Alt, save. Okay. Now I can go back and see if I have. Okay. So I already added visits. So visit is there. In the visit, I have, what fields do I have? I have visit name and date. Date is the field that I added. Name was already there. Okay. So, so basically, if you remember between date and visits, so one hospital, you can have multiple visits, right? Um, and in one visit, you cannot have multiple hospitals, right? What it means by when you are saying that, okay, I visited to hospital 1, right? Visit number. So in that particular visit, you cannot be in 2 places unless you are using quantum physics, right? So if you're using quantum physics, you can be on multiple locations. But of course, if you are just a regular physical being, and we are just talking about regular scenarios, if you are between 1 and 2, you can be only in one hospital, right? But one hospital can get multiple of the visits, right? So you can have multiple people can visit that hospital. So you can create multiple records and they all belong to one hospital, right? But at one point in time, if the visit goes back to hospital, at that point in time, there can only be one hospital related to that visit. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and as I said, you can also have, you can maybe agree and maybe you cannot agree. So if you're a client, you can say no. And then again, now the next question will be, do you want to make it a master detail or a lookup? Again, as I said, you can have either one. It's up to you, it's up to you and the client that you can decide what you want. But right now I'm saying if I did, so one hospital can have multiple visits. So who can become the parent? Hospital. And who can become the child? Visits. So if I have one hospital, I can have multiple visits. If we go with that, if I delete a hospital, should the visit should also be deleted, or if they are of any value? For example, if the customer says, if you delete a hospital, what should I care about how many visits you have done? Just delete that too, right? So I will say, okay, we can do master detail. Okay. Now, very quickly, I know I might be rushing, but in the next class, I can go back and maybe redo it. But this class, at least we want to go through. So maybe some of you can able to do that. So when you want to create the master detail, you need to go on a detail site and create a relationship exactly like you created a new field. Okay. So how did we create a new field? Go to setup. And if you go to setup, go to object manager. In the object manager, we need to find the object, which is the child, which is visit. We go to the visit and we go to the relation field and relationship. Now you know that you were creating field, but now we are creating relationship. Okay. Same way that you created last time, you can say new. And in the new, you will see the relationship, master details. So every time when you create a relationship, you always stand on a many side or a child side, whatever the other side is, which is multiple. So that's why we are on the visits. So visits are many, hospital is one. So we are creating that on, and we are choosing master detail. If you choose lookup, you can just select lookup. So right now we are saying that based on the consultation with the customer, he said master detail is good. We choose master detail. And then related to what object? So what was the name of the object? The name of the object was hospital, right? So here you go, hospital. I choose the hospital. Next. Next. Child relationship. This is child, and basically next. Right now I'm just choosing everything default, everything good, save, that's it. I just created a relationship called there. I just want to quickly show you how does it look like now between hospital and that. So let's add some data. So we have a hospital 1 and 2, and we have a visit. So let's start adding a visit.
Put your name.
Yeah, so this one, remember the field come up automatically, like one of the 4 fields. So we'll just choose that. Right now we can say, okay, that's fine. Okay, so I did not even create the field. So, okay, so you know what? I think we are over the time, 3 minutes, and I know some of the people have another more engagements. So I can skip this for now. What I will do is basically we'll start from the from the start for the master detail and walk through the full example. I know I'm kind of rushing it, but I think I might skip some steps and you may not understand. So in the next class, we can start with the example of first master detail, then we can have example of lookup, and then we have example of many to many. So we will try to cover all 3 relationships, creating our objects from the scratch or using the ones that we have so you can understand properly. But for now, if you want to try and if you feel like you can do it, if you cover everything else, the relationships are there. The way I have created, that's how you create the relationship. I forgot to create more fields that are needed. So once you have the fields created, then you can able to look up from the child. You can create multiple child records, relate to the parent object, and you can actually delete the parent object, and you can see the records which you have created as a child record. They will be deleted automatically. And if you create same 2 objects, but you create a lookup, you go back, you delete the parent record, you will see the child record will be there. So we will actually do a practical demonstration of all three scenarios one by one in detail, so that you can have a better understanding, because again, this is one of the very critical items. So in the next class, we will cover those, but again, you are more than welcome to try on your own. And again, if you understand it, if not, that's fine. Just try to go through everything else. I think we have covered quite a bit. We can create different apps and fields and everything. And if you get a chance, you can always look it up, relationships, how to create master detail relationship using YouTube or anything else, and just follow the process. In the next class, we will go through it but in detail. But again, if you feel like you want to do it on your own, feel free to do that, and then we can cover it up in our following class.
I have a question here. So you said that the